resiliency, the capacity to withstand challenge and difficulty. If anyone knows resilience, it's me. Going from the valley to the top, leaving as the franchise tackle leader, reaching the pinnacle of the sport. And if that's not enough, how about finishing a game after breaking an arm?
You can see that you can't use that right arm at all.
But what about recently? Resilience is also winning 4 games without your starting quarterback, powering through multiple injuries, doing what's best for the team, and rebounding for a playoff push. That's all been great, but the challenge and difficulty only grow from here. Avenging the frustrations of the past while trudging ahead for future triumphs. Standing in your way? Well, only the best to ever do it. It's time. It's time to see what true resilience is made of. Go Cowboys!
Things are about to get wild at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. The final spot in the divisional round is up for grabs under the lights of Monday Night Football. It's the 12-5 Dallas Cowboys and the NFC South champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And on nights like tonight, you can't hide from Cowboys Nation. They're in Tampa. They're in Arlington at the Miller Lighthouse outside of AT&T Stadium. And they're also at the Star in Frisco and the Tostitos Championship Plaza. This is Cowboys Pregame Live, presented by WinStar World Casino and Resort. We are live from the Star in Frisco, leading you into kickoff between the Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm here with former Cowboys Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. We've got Nick Eatman, Haley Sutton, and Bill Jones on the broadcast throughout the next hour and a half. We're going to get you ready for kickoff on Monday Night Football. Gentlemen, these are the type of nights you live for as a football fan, as a Dallas Cowboy, and you're trying to do something the Cowboys have not done in 30 years, and that is win a road playoff game. Are you ready? Are they ready? Are we ready to get this thing underway?
Oh, I'm all about it right now. I mean, this is playoff time, fellas. This is win or go home. The Cowboys have no choice but to break that losing streak, and I believe they have the formula to do so. But like always, Isaiah, it's going to come down to protecting the football.
They have to protect the football if they want to have any chance of beating Mr. TB12 and these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like you said, these guys have the personnel, they have the formula, they have the coaches. Now it's all about execution.
You talking about 30 years ago? That was 92 when I played in the NFC Championship game on the road. Gladiators will get it done, and these Cowboys got to be gladiators tonight.
Are they ready for the challenge? That's the biggest question I think Cowboys Nation is asking to this point. Are they ready to get the job done? Coming off of a loss against the Washington Commanders last week, but still 12-5 for back-to-back years under Mike McCarthy. Do you feel like they're up for the challenge?
I believe so. I mean, you mentioned it, that Washington game. You don't want to limp into the playoffs. Nobody ever wants to do that. But this team is as healthy as it can be. All right, they have the talent, like we just said. They should be able to handle the big moments. But like always, like I said earlier, it's going to come down to protecting the football and leaning on your formula, which is the ground game and the defense. If they can do that, they have a great chance of winning this ball game.
They have a couple things working in their favor, and that's familiarity with the opponent that they're facing. They faced the Tampa Bay Buccaneers twice over the last 2 years, as well as a little bit of pain, from last year's playoffs. The 49ers knocked them out in the first round. They don't want to face that again. I think these guys are going to be ready to take on TB12 and these Buccaneers.
You know, I'm a little premature, but you know what, Biotish being back and Big Hankins being back, that gives our offense defensive line a chance to compete. And that's what these guys are talking about, getting out there, doing your job, and competing.
Cowboys are 2-0 all-time against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs. However, they are 0-7 against Tom Brady all-time regular season, only because this is the first time the Cowboys have ever seen Tom Brady in the playoffs. So keep that in mind when you look at the two records. We've got a fantastic crowd behind us here at Tostitos Championship Plaza. You guys are ready to go, having some fun out here at the world headquarters of the Star in Frisco for the Dallas Cowboys. Well, let's go back out to the mothership, AT&T Stadium in the Miller Lighthouse, where we are now joined by Bill Jones. And Bill, the atmosphere out here is fantastic. What's it looking like out there in Arlington?
Yeah, the gates just opened here at 5:30, and a nice crowd that is gathering here to watch the game. What a great venue. What a great night to watch the game outdoors with other Cowboys fans tonight, not only there in Frisco, but also here in Arlington. Kyle, the one thing I want to know is, did the Cowboys bring their boombox with them to Tampa? Because what I remember is Deebo Samuel inside this stadium a year ago, and the boombox guy next to him, and the swagger that they walked on this field last year. Cowboys need that same kind of swagger against Brady and the Bucs tonight.
I completely agree, and I know you guys probably agree as well. You cannot let up against Tom Brady, but I know you've interacted with some Cowboys fans since you've been out there, and of course they are ready to go. But if you could describe how Cowboys Nation is feeling in one word right now, what would it be?
I think they're excited, and especially the ones here, because the ones here, they've come out here and they're watching the game expecting a win. They are not expecting the same kind of watch party we had just west of here last Monday night, which was at TCU. And so I think these fans are excited. I think there are maybe some other Cowboys fans that are not as confident as these are going into this game, just because of who the opponent is. If they were facing the NFC South champion Carolina Panthers, I think everybody would have confidence. But it's the Brady factor tonight that has people concerned.
As it should be. I mean, whenever you've won 35 playoff games as an individual, that's going to come into factor. But, Bill, I want you to give me a matchup to watch out for today. Who's got to have the best game of their season for the Cowboys if they hope to come out on top?
Who's going to play the other cornerback spot? That's the matchup that I think Brady's going to be targeting, that third corner for the Cowboys, whether it's Nashawn Wright, whether it's Xavier Rhodes, and that guy. Now, Rhodes, since he hasn't played in the game yet, no matter what he does, it's going to be the best game he's played as a Cowboy. But I think that's what I'm targeting and because I think Tom Brady is going to be targeting that spot. And then the other thing is the Cowboys need to be able to run the football, and so that offensive line, which I'm sure Nate's going to talk about over the course of the next hour and a half here, is going to be huge for the Cowboys.
Bill Jones joining us from the Miller Lighthouse in the official Cowboys watch party out there at AT&T Stadium. Thanks so much, Bill. We'll check back in with you here in a little bit. But let's see how the Cowboys got to this point in the year in the first place. And it started all the way back a year ago to the day. The heartbreak in the wild card round. A loss to the San Francisco 49ers that bounced the Cowboys out of the first round. But it didn't take long to see another win. Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, elects to stay despite other head coaching offers this offseason. Others did not stay. Amari Cooper, Randy Gregory, Cedric Wilson, and others departed for other opportunities throughout the NFL, but those who returned arrived in Oxnard for training camp on July 25th, getting started again. Then came the opener, a 19-3 loss against that same Buccaneers team, and a Dak Prescott injury that had him leave out of that fourth quarter. However, that resilience shined over the next 5 games. 4 wins, just 1 loss until Dak returned in October, and then they found their way to a playoff spot. Wrapped it up in Week 15 despite a loss to Jacksonville, and then this Dallas team finishing with 12 wins in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 1994 and 95. That led us to this, their first ever meeting with Tom Brady in the postseason tonight on Monday Night Football. So the crowd is ready. Cowboys Nation is ready. But regular season success is one thing, gentlemen.
Yes.
Postseason success is a completely different animal. When you look at this team, led by Mike McCarthy in his third season. It's his second straight postseason experience. You talk about the 12 wins he had a year ago, led to a wild card round loss. How much pressure is on Coach McCarthy tonight?
Well, there's immense pressure on McCarthy as well as these players. And look, I understand what McCarthy's done. He's done something that a coach hasn't done here in a very long time. Back-to-back playoff appearances, back-to-back 12-win seasons. But we all understand when you have that star and you coach and play for the Dallas Cowboys, the expectation is not to have a great regular season. It's to have a great postseason. So until those regular season wins translate to postseason wins, there will always be pressure on the head guy.
I don't wholeheartedly disagree with you, Barry. I do believe that the star adds a bunch of pressure on you in terms of a head coach, and the standards are always higher when you have that star in your helmet. However, how many other coaches are winning 12 games per year? I mean, what is really the expectation? The expectation is to win a Super Bowl, okay? If you're not winning the Super Bowl, then it really doesn't matter. All the rest of the coaches are in the same pot. I don't think that there's a better alternative out there except for one guy that we know won't be coming here, and that's Sean Payton.
I agree with you 100%. 24 wins in 2 years, man. If they'd have told you that 2 years ago when this cat walked in here, we would have gladly taken it.
Yeah.
Now what he has to do, man, is get these guys to believe, because he's seen it before. How do he translate that to these young guys? How do he get his veterans to transmit this through the team, that every play matters, that every situation matters? Don't take anything for granted. Play through and through the whistle and everywhere else, too, that you can.
How do you feel like he and this coaching staff have attacked the week? I mean, this is the second time they've been a part of the postseason here in Dallas. Do you think they've had a good week leading up to this?
I think they've had a great week because he ended with the Washington week saying, this is not what I want. This is not what I need. We will do extra. We will watch film extra, and they did that. They came out and they put on pads, which I don't know what pads is these days. They put on what they put on, and they went out there. These dudes are focused. And I know I'm supposed to be looking at the camera, but you asked me a question that need to be directly answered. Yes, sir.
I agree.
Yeah.
Isaiah, what do you think?
I hope that these guys had a
Hope
great
is
week.
not a situation.
It's definitely not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy, but I hope that these guys had a great week of preparation to what Nate is talking about right now. As these guys got punched in the mouth, okay? The Washington Commanders punched these guys in the mouth right before the playoffs. It's not the best situation. You don't want to limp into the playoffs, but if you're going to have a wake-up call, that's a good week to have it. And the Dallas Cowboys, unfortunately but fortunately, have been playing up and down to their competition. Well, the good thing is the competition that they have today is going to be up there.
Well, you're 100%, Isaiah. You'd rather have that misplacement happen in Washington and not the playoffs. And you heard it from all the leaders here with the Dallas Cowboys so far this week. Zach Martin, Ezekiel Elliott, they all talked about having the best week of practice that they've had in the entire season. So hopefully that translates to having one of the best games at the much-needed time, which is the playoffs. All
right, you guys have all mentioned Dak Prescott at some point here in the early minutes of this show. Just talking about what Mike McCarthy has done in the regular season, Dak Prescott's had plenty of regular season success as well, but postseason success is a completely different thing, and that is how you measure how a quarterback has done. Here's what his stats look like through the regular season and through the postseason, and when you actually look at them side by side, it's really not that different. Most of it is not that different. However, he is 1-3 in playoff games as opposed to what you see here in terms of what he's done statistically. It doesn't look the same. He's under 500. Can he get that second win tonight?
I believe he can. I believe he can because we talked about it already. Those guys have the talent to be able to get the job done. He just has to stay within himself. All right, when we talk about throwing interceptions and all that other stuff, you cannot compound the issue. If your first option isn't there, second option isn't there, you got a guy in the flat named Tony Pollard who can make things happen with the ball in his hand. For some reason, if that's taken away, go ahead and take the sack. Live to play another down, but do not compound issues because we all understand a turnover in the playoffs is the easiest way to be one and done.
Yeah, it's definitely the way to be one and done, and they learned that lesson last year against the 49ers. The thing that I'm worried about in this week's game in the playoffs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is one heck of a defensive coordinator, and he has the defense to be patient. I think he's going to test the patience of Dak Prescott. That's what we've seen in terms of him running into trouble in the past over the last second half of the season, is the inability or the unwillingness to really just stay patient and work down the field and move the chains. If Todd Bowles simply sits back and plays basic defense, I think Dak is going to be challenged to make correct decisions over and over again and not try to force the ball.
Dalton Schultz,
Paging
and a whole lot of Tony Pollard. You dink and dunk. You go do what the GOAT do. The GOAT over there going to dink and dunk. Yeah. You dink and dunk. And then when they come up close, you got T.Y. Hilton. And we're going to do the deal tonight because when T.Y. Hilton fly loose on them, that'll open the field up for C.D. Lamb, and we can take these dudes.
And that's one of the lessons Dak Prescott can learn in terms of playing quarterback. He's learned some things in the past through his postseason success, but also talking about welcoming that pressure earlier in the week.
Obviously, every playoff game you go into it thinking you've got to win, but having the past experiences I've had in the playoffs, just understanding the team that we have, what we're capable of doing, being on the road, just knowing we got to go in, we've got to stay calm, we've got to stay within ourselves and play our best game. And when we're able to do that, I don't care who it is, what game it is, it's going to be tough to beat us.
So much as people say what happened in the past, especially the Cowboys failures is not about you guys, but as a quarterback, you guys are judged by what you do in the playoffs, whether it's, your past failures, the team's past failures. How does much of that come into your mind of what you need to do?
I mean, I just got to go win the game. As I said, do everything that I can and leave no doubt in my preparation to make sure that I'm putting this team in the best chance to do that. And yeah, understanding that, and I've said it myself, right? We're all judged off of wins in the playoffs, and these matter, and I know that. And so, not necessarily not that it's pressure, but you've got to love playing in these moments. You got to love being in games like this, and if you don't, this league, this sport, this isn't the place for you. And so for me, it's about embracing the moment. As I said, stand within myself. It's not time to do anything new, create anything new. Trust my teammates, trust the way that I've prepared throughout, and just go out there and stay within the moment.
Jack, do you ever feel the pressure of doing what Roger and Troy did here?
I mean, I got to say that I want to. I want to win the championships and win the titles and everything that they did, win all the games, put this team in that position. But I can't say that that's at the forefront of my mind as I'm thinking about what those guys have done, what the great quarterbacks here have done before me. I can't necessarily, I don't have any tell on what they did then. So it's about focusing on the now, as I said, and knowing what I can do, what I'm capable of doing, and really with the opportunity that this team has in front of them.
All eyes on Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys as they take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tonight at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. Let's go out to the Sunshine State and hear from our very own Nick Eatman, who is live on the sidelines. And Nick, overall, what's the feeling in that locker room? Another postseason appearance for this Dallas Cowboys team, number 65, 65th game all time for this Cowboys team. Why is this one unique?
I mean, this is plain and simple. I mean, this is a season that the Cowboys have had building up all season long to get to this point. And every game from like November on, it was, hey, this is great, but what happens in the playoffs? Well, guess what? We're here. We're finally here. And I think it's real easy to say, this Cowboy team's had some games where they're flat or whatever. I do believe that they're human. They've been listening. Everyone's been saying, and you guys say it on the set, doesn't matter until you get to the playoffs. I mean, Isaiah just said doesn't matter unless you win the Super Bowl. So here they are. They're finally able to do something about this, and that's why I think it's different. And, it's also different because this is probably the best team that they've had to go face Tom Brady in a game like this. And so, I think that even though the last game out was a bad one, I still think that this team is a better football team than what they showed. They're a better football team than what the Buccaneers have been this year. So the opportunity is here to go out and win this.
What's the confidence level around Dak with this team? He's been a leader for quite some time. Of course, he's been in the postseason before. But with his play this year, 15 interceptions, there are questions around whether or not he does turn the football over. Is the confidence level with Dak as high as it has been in the past?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say that as high as it's been in the past because, you can say that as a cliche. I'll ask Stephen Jones that. He'll say that. But the reason that you ask the question is the reason why I don't know. I mean, like everyone's going to say, like, Dak, we got you. We got your back. But they're also saying, hey, check it down. Check it down to Schultz. Check it down to Tony Pollard. Don't take risks that are not necessary. He's thrown one or two really bad throws a game. I mean, he's had some other really good ones, but he's had a couple of those interceptions a game. And I think early on, in the season, even last year, he's had some that get deflected and then don't get intercepted. Well, these are getting picked right now, and so he's in a bad stretch for that. As for the confidence, I'm sure the confidence is still high. He's got high confidence in himself, but in the back of your mind, you probably are thinking, hey, let's be smart with the football here.
So this might be the very last time we see the trio of a coaching staff together with Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn, and Kellen Moore all on the sideline at one time. Who has to have the best game tonight from a coaching staff standpoint in order to come out on top and push that to next week?
Wow, that's a good one. I mean, all three, you got to manage the game. Mike's got to manage the game. He's got to get them ready to play. Obviously, they got to score the points. But I'm going to go with Dan Quinn because we're not talking about how they've never beaten Devin White. I mean, we're not talking about that. We're talking about they haven't beaten Tom Brady. So Dan Quinn's got to go out and figure out a way to beat Tom Brady. So I'm going to say Dan Quinn.
So speaking on Tom Brady and what he's brought to the table, 7-0 all-time against the Cowboys, you've kind of picked on a couple trends there. How could the Cowboys overcome, maybe for the first time, the best to ever do it, the most decorated to ever do it?
Yeah, I'm going to say score a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And that maybe sounds, simple enough, but I went back and I was thinking all of these 7 games, it seems like the Cowboys were kind of in it for a little bit. And then, for one reason or another, the Patriots or the Bucs kind of pull away at the end. I mean, not all the games are the same way. But I went and looked at it. The Cowboys have been outscored 43-12 in the fourth quarter of those 7 games. Have not scored a touchdown.
Wow.
Just 4 field goals. So that right there just tells you that some of these games are close. But when it's time to play, and I don't know who all the quarterbacks on the other side have been, from Quincy Carter to Tony Romo to, of course, Dak, Brandon Wheaton, all these other quarterbacks that haven't gotten done. Tom got it done. So tonight, Dak, fourth quarter, how about score a touchdown or 2? That should probably help push them over the top.
And if we've seen anything in Super Wild Card Weekend to this point, it is to play all 4 quarters. You cannot let up at any point in the NFL playoffs. Nick Eatman joining us on the sideline at Raymond James Stadium. We'll check back in with Nick here in a couple minutes. But let's go down back into the studios, in the Globe Life studios here at the Star in Frisco, where our very own Haley Sutton tells you a couple more of those intricacies in trying to take down a Tom Brady.
It's no secret Tom Brady is a perfect 7-0 against the Dallas Cowboys in his career, including Game 1 against the Cowboys this season, where his Bucs won 19-3. But the boys aren't worried about the past. In fact, they're so focused on the present so that they can continue to play football in the future.
Brady one snap away from win 244 and remaining undefeated against the Cowboys.
It's 2023. He ain't beat us this year, so that's all I'm worried about.
Since 2020, Tampa Tom has been terrorizing teams from the South. And while this might not be his best season on paper, Tom Brady is not to be taken lightly.
Just really his discipline, particularly in situational football. I mean, just the awareness, particularly on the vertical throws, outside the numbers, to make those throws as consistent as he does is super impressive.
Under Brady, the Buccaneers have earned the most playoff wins since 2020. They have the largest playoff point margin and they're 3rd in total wins. But the most important statistic is Tom's experience. 35 playoff wins for the greatest of all time, with 10 Super Bowl starts over his 23-year career, a span that's seen him win 7 Super Bowl championships.
Obviously, you give the guy respect. I mean, he's won as much as anybody has in this league, so you've got to give him the respect there, but understanding that this is a team game, and obviously knowing how good and talented our defense is, trusting those guys are going to go out there and do their job.
But this Cowboys team isn't stressing about the things that have come before them.
Everybody's going to be talking about the Cowboys regardless, but, we just got to go out here and play our game, and that's, what we plan on doing.
He's just like any other quarterback. He believes the same way he throws. He's just a better quarterback than most, so, the challenge is higher.
We have zero responsibility to what's happened here in the past, all the way back even to the San Francisco game. This is about our opportunity. It's about what's in front of us. It's about what we've accomplished on our journey through the regular season, with the things that we've learned from our things that didn't go the way we want them to go, and how we apply that to this one game.
Sure, it's motivating knowing they could be the ones to take down Tom Brady, the ones to end his season and possibly see him play the final game of his career. But Jaron Kerr said it best. This is a team sport, and this team is working towards a victory.
What we did in the regular season means nothing. So right now we just have to work on week one of the postseason and doing the things that we need to do and getting back to the way we play ball.
I'd be big time, going out there, letting him go out like that. I mean, he's had a great career, legendary, but, if we get to knock him out, we can say that for the rest of our life, too.
While these two teams have never played in Tampa Bay in the postseason before, they have met previously in the playoffs. America's team has beaten the Bucs twice in the playoffs. We'll see if they can pick up win number 3 later this evening. From here in the studio, I'm Haley Sutton. I'll send it back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Haley. And of course, he is the best to ever do it. You look at what he's done in the playoffs. Here's what he's done in 2022. Still put up really good numbers across the board. A little bit more in the interception category than he's used to seeing with 9 picks this season. But you also look at the yards per game going down, the QBR going down, that completion percentage staying higher. But Isaiah, Father Time still hasn't caught Tom Brady, and nor does it look like it's catching him anytime soon. What makes him different, especially in the playoffs?
Yeah, TB12 is just a different character. I was blessed to be able to back him up at the quarterback position when I had my time in New England for a little while there. And the thing about him is he watches a ridiculous amount of film. There's nothing that you're going to be able to show up on and play and utilize today that he hasn't already seen. So what you have to do is out-execute him. You're not going to be able to out-scheme him. Now, you're not going to be able to out-think him. You have to be able to execute your game plan. You have to be patient because he is going to be able to work his way down the field. And if you don't be patient, if you don't come home and take care of your responsibilities, he will definitely expose you.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this guy is the GOAT for a reason, all right? He's one of the most patient quarterbacks that I've ever played against, all right? This guy, you can, like you said, you can sit back, but eventually you're going to, man, we got to get after this guy. We got to make him pay, and he will just sit there and dial it up on you, all right? This guy is patient. He could kill defense with 1,000 cuts out there. That's what made him so successful. He takes what the defense gives him each and every week. So if the Cowboys can't get pressure, especially up the middle, it could be a long afternoon for this defense.
Most quarterbacks would die for 9 interceptions. This guy just said this dude had 9 interceptions. I know quarterbacks would die for those 9 interceptions. 25 touchdowns is just a reflection of his guys being hurt all year. Evans being hurt, the other kid being hurt, the running back coming out of the backfield. All these guys have been hurt at one point in time, and his offensive line is finally coming together. Hey, what we better do is concentrate on doing our job and worrying about being in our gaps, staying in the zone, reading the coverages right, and making sure we have constant pressure because this guy, age does not know him.
No, it doesn't, and neither do the Cowboys, it seems like, with a 7-0 record against Dallas all time. But how much does that really matter, Nate, when you look at Tom Brady and you see him on the other side of the line of scrimmage? Does the 7-0 mark really matter to the players that are in the game today?
Not today. No, they don't know. They don't care. They're young. They're aggressive. They want to get after people. But still, you have to be a technician. You have to go what your coach taught you all week. You have to go with it. You have to believe it because they have seen enough film on this guy to put you in position. Now, when you get in a position, you get a chance to make a play against Tom, do not be coming back talking about my bad because you won't get too many to do that.
You're absolutely right, Nate. The 7-0 record has nothing to do with this Cowboys team. Even the team that was at the first game of the season, the 2022 season. This is a one-game season. That's all that matters. You're playing against Tom Brady and the rest of the guys that decide to show up and put that jersey on, and your job is to bust them in the mouth and make sure that they walk out with an L. That is your only responsibility. If you look back on history, the only thing that you should have been looking back at is the film to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes. Going forward, you got 4 quarters to win the ball game tonight. Take care of business.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm with all of you guys on this one. Those past games mean absolutely nothing. When these players step on the field tonight, the score will be 0-0. So all those other games in the past, they have no impact on anything. And I understand you can have a healthy respect for your opponent out there, but in no way, shape, or form should this coaching staff or these players fear Tom Brady or the Buccaneers. So go out there, handle your responsibilities, focus on the task at hand, and get the job done.
Ooh, I'm ready to run through a wall, Barry Church. I really like that. All right, another key stat for Tom Brady is he hasn't been pushing the ball down the field. Actually, 10 of his 18 completions against Dallas in the first game were less than 10 yards down the field. Here's a look at his numbers from Next Gen Stats. But you see all of those yardage, all of those ratings from inside the 10-yard mark and behind the line of scrimmage. That's thanks to the screen game, thanks to the dump off. It's a nickel and dime strategy that has worked all year long, Isaiah. And when you look at the film, it certainly stands out, and Tampa Bay is going to try and do that again tonight.
This is what they're doing. And the thing is, if you try to come out and play man-to-man against these guys, they have the personnel that can beat your guys. They have more receivers than you have DBs. That's a fact. Most teams they play, that's the fact. And tonight, especially against the Dallas Cowboys, that's a fact. So what do? You typically go to a zone. Okay, so you go to a zone defense. Now, where are the holes in the zones at? Usually about that 5 to 8 yard radius, okay? And how else does that help them? Well, it helps them because they're the least sacked team in the league. These guys are getting the ball out and not getting sacked less than 2% of the passes he's had this year. So it's easy, high efficiency passes, easy for him to complete it, and he's relying on his high caliber receivers to take those easy balls and make some yak yardage, yards after catch.
How does that make things tough on a defender, Barry? Because you have to come up and play that, but you're also worrying about that one throw over the top at some point later in the game that could make you bite and could burn you on the backside from a secondary standpoint.
Yeah, as a former safety, I used to hate going against quarterbacks like this that were extremely patient, because you get bored sitting back there as a safety. You're not involved in the run fish. You're not involved in the game, so you're saying, all right, you know what, this guy can't dink and dunk the entire time. Let me sneak up there and try to make a play. And as soon as you creep up there out of that deep third, that's when Tom Brady's going to hit you with a deep ball over there, because he's that good. So when it comes to defenses, you got to remain just as patient as Tom Brady, but that's a hard thing to do.
It's just amazing that to be associated with a Tom Brady and to hear you guys, you know, just up to him. But, hey, get on this dude. What you need to do is lay hands on this dude. What the corners need to do is come up and press, force that thing to go long, and then rely on your instincts and rely on your techniques to get back deep so Barry can get involved in the game early, okay? That's all you have to do. And I didn't mean that in a bad way. These guys going to kill me.
So I agree with you, actually, because Tampa Bay is wearing the white jerseys tonight. The Cowboys will be wearing navy.
Yes.
So you want, by the end of the night, you want him to look like he plays for North Texas.
That's right.
You want him to look like he plays for Oregon. You want that white Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey to be green by the end of the night on that turf all night long. You want to get your hands on Tom Brady and make things tough. Speaking of making things tough, these wide receivers will certainly do that. Mike Evans, 1,000 yards for his 9th straight season. Only Jerry Rice has a streak longer than that for consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Also, by the way, what did he do in his final appearance of the regular season? Oh, nothing short of 10 receptions, 207 yards, and 3 touchdowns in Week 17 against the Carolina Panthers. Isaiah, how are guys like this, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, going to challenge the Cowboys secondary?
They make it so that you can't play man-to-man. That's the thing. I mean, you really have Trayvon Diggs out there that's tried and true, and that's the one guy that you can depend on to be able to hopefully follow Mike Evans around and really just shadow him and take him out the game. But then all of a sudden you look outside of him and you have a bunch of other guys, right? You have a Julio Jones. You have a Godwin, right? You have a Russell Gage. You have guys that can beat your guys one-on-one, so it forces your hand to go ahead and play zone, and that's why you're seeing so many 5 to 8 yard routes by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're just dinking and dunking their way down, just like Nate said.
Yeah, without a doubt, I think these are the most dangerous duo that the Cowboys secondary has played this year. I mean, both of these guys are extremely experienced. They understand the difference between man concepts, zone concepts. They understand how to get separation from the defensive backs. And what makes it so hard defensively to lock on these guys, like you said, Isaiah, Byron Leftwich does a great job of moving them around the formation. They'll be on the outside. They'll be in the slot. They'll be in bunches out there. But to me, what really makes them the most dangerous duo is the connection they have with their quarterback, Tom Brady. It's like they're on a wavelength. They're reading each other's mind throughout the play. And as good as you play defensively, that's a hard connection to break.
You know, we're going to concentrate on Mike Evans, especially when he go over to our offside cornerback. But the guy that scares me over and over is Chris Godwin. Here's their CeeDee Lamb. Here's that guy to get the mid-range things and make plays. We need to make sure we keep a clamp on this guy. So I'm hoping Bland get a lot of that slot.
Yeah. Godwin, 56 receptions since Week 12. That's tied for the most in the NFL with Justin Jefferson. So you talk about volume. That's what Chris Godwin has brought. He's brought that volume. He's brought the underneath game. But you mentioned Trayvon Diggs and possibly facing this Mike Evans bunch again. Mike Evans against the Cowboys the last 2 years, 24 yards and 71 yards. Diggs against Tampa Bay has only allowed 4 receptions on 11 targets, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Barry, if you had the defensive coordinator duties, would you let Trayvon Diggs cover Mike Evans solely, or would you travel him around?
I would travel him with Mike Evans, similar to what they did in that second game versus the Eagles with A.J. Brown. They let him shadow him the entire game. Because what's the alternative? I mean, you leave Diggs on one side of the field, and Tom Brady, they line up Godwin, they line up Evans on the other side, and they get to cooking your young defensive backs over there. I don't think the Cowboys want any parts of that. You have to take one of these weapons away. And to me, you put your best defensive back on Mike Evans and let the cards play itself out.
I want Trayvon Diggs to be Mike Evans' carry-on.
There you go.
Wherever Mike Evans goes, that's where Trayvon needs to go for the same reason that Barry just said. You want him in his pocket like some lint. Just wherever he goes, just shadow him. Try to take that one element out the game. Try to make your game just a little bit easier, because these other guys are going to be a handful to deal with as well.
You know what? I don't know what to tell y'all. All I know is that Mike Evans is a beast, and we need to stop him because he makes this whole thing go. So if Barry over there telling y'all that this is what they need to do, I'm going to roll with you, Barry. I'm going to roll with you. But I will say this. Make them stay in front of you and come up and be a perfect tackler for this game, especially you young guys.
They don't call him DCBC for nothing. He knows how to call a defense, but it hasn't been easy for the secondary since the injuries to Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis. Here are the numbers before and after both of those guys exited with various injuries because, of course, Anthony Brown came after Jordan Lewis, and things have exploded for opposing offenses in terms of yards per game, touchdowns, interceptions, sacks. All of those numbers have seen a decrease, but what are their options at the cornerback 2 spot? Nashawn Wright is inactive. We're going to get to the rest of the inactive list in a couple moments, but who else is there for this Cowboys defense to rely on?
I think you got to give Rhodes a shot. All right, I mean, this is a veteran cornerback with postseason experience out there, and to be honest, like we talked about, Kelvin Joseph, Mullins, and Wright, they all had opportunities to put good tape on there, opportunities to make sure this coaching staff has confidence in them to put them out there in big games. They weren't able to get the job done. So to me, you got to give Rhodes a shot. I think he gives you your defense the best opportunity to be successful opposite of Trayvon Diggs.
Well, Kyle, he's sitting here at Tostitos Plaza, and the second cornerback spot for the Dallas Cowboys has been getting Tostitoed all the time ever since we lost to the number 2 and number 3 guy. These guys don't really have a real solution right now because Deron Bland, even though he's capable of playing outside, you really want to utilize him inside. He's your main guy there. So you're going to have to rely on one of these other guys to step up and start making some plays. We went to Mullen last week. Well, we saw what happened there. So now all of a sudden you bring in Xavier Rhodes, who was sitting at the crib for a week, and now you're asking him to become now a Pro Bowl guy like he used to be early on in his career. That's not a realistic expectation, especially when you're going against a receiver duel like these guys have.
The great offensive lineman Jackie Slater said this is where the rubber meets the road. And Xavier Rhodes, we need you to ball out tonight. You have one game to show us all you got, all your experience. Put it in one bag, baby, and come out and explode over these guys.
You got to put it all together for this game. And to his credit, he's actually done a good job. He's won over Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, speaking earlier in the week that he's excited about the possibility that Xavier Rhodes brings to the table. But he also talked about his past relationship with Tom Brady and what he's brought to the table, and a little bit of revenge maybe on the mind for Dan Quinn in this defense. Here's what he said earlier in the week.
More than anything, this is the guys, you know, and I love competing. I love being in the playoffs with the guys, but this is our team against their team, our defense against their offense, and so that's what I look forward to. And every year is different, every game's different, every matchup's different, but for me, it's just, man, what a cool opportunity to get for us to play. And so certainly not about me. This is about our crew and our way that we want to go get it on.
Xavier Rhodes, what can he bring? What can you find out about him? You know, he's been with Buffalo, playing on 2 games. And how does he fit into this?
Yeah, so good news, had probably the most tape on Xavier, where we could evaluate, you know, him in different spots. Man, could he pick it up fast. I was blown away by football instincts right away. So he came in here, what was it, Saturday, met there at the hotel, again in the morning, heading into this week. So I'll have a better sense for him as we get towards the end of the week, if there could be a role that goes on for the game, but too early to call on that. But my first impressions have been strong.
You like that veteran person who's seen it before.
Yep. And that showed for him. He's been in a lot of close games. He's a good competitor. So I thought excellent addition to our team at this point. And you're always looking for a guy who's an excellent teammate, and certainly that's, you know, the thought that we've heard on some of the guys coming in, you know. So, you know, a guy like Barr who had, you know, spent time with them, or JK, and so hearing those guys who I trust so much make those kind of positive comments already led me into what I had thought, and it just kind of, you know, accentuated that.
So there's Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator, and all the fans starting to pile in at the Miller Litehouse out at AT&T Stadium for the official Dallas Cowboys Wild Card Weekend watch party. We are live from out here at the Star in Frisco in the Tostitos Championship Plaza. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. We got fans out here too, enjoying the night. It is a fantastic night, by the way. Just under 70 degrees, really no wind, almost the same conditions conditions that they're playing with out in Tampa Bay. Not a ton of wind. 64, I think, right around is what it's supposed to be at kickoff. It's great football weather. Let's take a look at the inactive list for the Dallas Cowboys as they prepare to take on the Buccaneers in the wild card round. And we mentioned it earlier, Nashawn Wright, the corner who saw majority of the action without Jordan Lewis, without Anthony Brown in the fold, really filling in for Kelvin Joseph, who now might have to see a significant number of snaps out there with Xavier Rhodes and company. He is inactive. So is Trayvon Mullen, who, of course, we got to see a little bit of last week in the game against the Washington Commanders. And Neville Gallimore inactive, a healthy scratch heading into the wild card round. Barry, which one sticks out to you?
I have to go with the secondary on this one. I know that, Mullins and Wright, they haven't done the greatest of jobs out there when they had the opportunity, but you would think with all these injuries in the secondary, you would need all hands on deck. Right now, those two guys being inactive is pretty surprising to me.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I just can't understand how Nashawn Wright is not playing in this game tonight. You think about how many receivers that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to put up against you and how we are being hit at the cornerback position. How can you not have him out there? Mullen, he showed you last week he wasn't necessarily ready for showtime. But Nashawn Wright, he's a young fella. He was getting his confidence. Just 2 weeks ago, this dude had an interception, and all of a sudden he's inactive.
Gallimore, Bohannon. These guys haven't rushed for over 100 yards. What you're saying is we good with Chauncey Golston, we good with Hankerson, and we good with the other kid, Watkins. That right there, these guys should have gotten better during the year. And they have not improved. And we got to bring in guys that haven't got enough reps, enough snaps against a veteran team like this, and they bring in back their center. Man, come on, fellas, we got to play. We got to play overtime.
None of the guys that you were talking about outside of Trayvon Mullen showed up on the injury report this week. Mullen was dealing with an injury, with an illness. Nashawn Wright, for all intents and purposes, didn't necessarily have an injury. We may hear about that later on as well. But now you get to see a lot of Xavier Rhodes. We talked about him. But what about Kelvin Joseph in there as well? Because he's active. He's available. You guys don't look very happy about seeing some snaps from Kelvin Joseph. Why is that a problem?
I'm telling you right now, Kyle, I don't want to see any of it. I just don't want to see it. I mean, the guy, like I talked about earlier, he had his opportunities, plenty of opportunities to go out there and give this coaching staff the confidence to play him in a big game. I'm not wrong when I say he did not give them the boost of confidence they needed. So I don't want to see any parts of it. Special teams, yes, but hopefully we don't have to go down that far deep into our cornerback depth.
I hope not either. I don't want to see Kelvin Joseph out there playing against some of these receivers that Tampa Bay is going to bring out tonight. He showed the inconsistency early. I think he's done a heck of a job of making himself a reliable special teams competitor, but in terms of actually playing on the defense side of the ball, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about that.
We got something down here on the front of this table. That kid ain't been that. Yeah.
He ain't been. He can be that.
Nah, not this year. Not this year. You can. This is the playoffs. This is one and done. One long bomb for a touchdown, and we're done. Yeah, this is a one and done. He's not shown to be responsible. He's not shown that he cares enough about his teammates to do what is right. And no, I'm with Barry and I'm with Isaiah here. You do not take that chance. And if it get down to that bad, the game is probably over anyway.
I'm sure they don't allow phones in the locker room for the Cowboys and the Buccaneers, but there you go. There's the challenge put on the table here from Pregame Live out here in Frisco for Kelvin Joseph in Tampa Bay tonight, pleading that he has some good opportunity heading into and good snaps going into this matchup. Now, you do get some starters back. So we get back on the good side of things because Leighton Vander Esch, active. Tyler Biadasz back in the starting lineup. Jonathan Hankins, big Hankins in the middle, hopefully taking up a couple of gaps on that defensive line. Which one's the biggest addition or re-addition after coming back from injury?
I would have to say both LVE and Hankins. Now, I'm not saying, this is the return of Ray Lewis and Warren Sapp or anything like that. But with these two guys coming back into the fold, I think it gives this defense a better opportunity to stop the run. More importantly, better opportunity to win on first and second down and give that defensive line, those pass rushers, the ability to get after Tom Brady on third and long. They've got to be able to stop the run, and I think LVE and Hankins give you the best opportunity to do so.
TB, no 12. Tyler Biadasz, and I'm going to let Nate Dogg tell you exactly why Tyler Biadasz is the man up front.
Because everybody get to clack their heels and go back home. It's like, I'm serious. You can take your left guard, McGovern, and put him back at his normal position. You can take Tyler Smith, put him back at his normal position. Now you can give a little bit more help to Tyron Smith. When you are stable and your pocket is clean, you have a chance. They have too many dominating defensive players for us to be playing musical chairs this week. That was a nice nice little throw right there. I like that. Yeah.
Connor McGovern clicking the heels and saying, I'm not in center anymore. I'm at left guard now. Thank goodness. We're back to where we need to be heading into this matchup against Vita Vea and that front. But let's talk about the Tampa two-headed monster at running back. A couple guys that you're going to have to see out of the backfield from this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, and it starts with Leonard Fournette. Now, the rushing game hasn't been great for Tampa Bay. They are ranked dead last in the NFL in terms of rushing yards allowed, but you also talk about what they've done from a screen game. Leonard Fournette has 70-plus receptions this season, and that's for a reason. They use him a lot out of the backfield, and then his running mate, Rachaad White, also bringing a little bit of flexibility into the ground game. How can Dallas limit these two tailbacks coming out of the backfield?
Well, simply, they got to hit him in the mouth. They got to hit him square in the mouth, and I'm talking about both of these guys. All right, Leonard Fournette and White out there, they are both downhill physical backs, and if you let them set the tone early by running through a couple tackles, they're going to build that momentum. They're going to build that momentum. I had a chance to play with Leonard Fournette down in Jacksonville, and he's a guy that when he starts rolling, it's going to be hard to stop that man. So they got to hit him in the mouth early and often, and by the third quarter, he'll start waving that white flag.
I like to see that actually come to fruition. I believe that Dallas is going to get a nice little dose of Leonard Fournette. And, you know, Barry just talked about him as his ex-teammate. Well, you know what he did against Dallas in the first game of the season? The boy ran for over 120 yards against him, okay? Yeah. And I think that with the resurgence of Ryan Jensen, him coming back, I think you're going to see those guys try to attack the middle of this defense as soon as they see that inactive list and see Big Bohanna out there and see Neville Gallimore not present. Oh, they're going to test the interior of our defensive line.
You know, Leonard Fournette has nothing but confidence against us. We talk about Dak gaining confidence. Well, this guy has not had a bad game against us. So this guy has the greatest of confidence. The White kid is just somebody that gives him a breather during the season because he was beat up. He's not beat up now. He's ready to go. Look for him to throw to him early and often coming out of the backfield to test to see where LVE and the rest of those linebackers are at.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette's 127 yards in Week 1 against the Cowboys was his season-high best on the ground. However, he's one of 3 running backs in the entire NFL with 500 rushing yards and 500 receiving yards. The other 2, Austin Eckler and Christian McCaffrey. So good company for Leonard Fournette to be in. But we mentioned the 500-plus receiving yards. It's because of the screen game. And Isaiah, I know you hit it a little bit earlier, but why is that so effective with the weapons that Tampa Bay employs?
Because you have to respect all the receivers. And when you're respecting the receivers, and Barry could probably tell you better, you have to be able to get some depth. You don't want to allow these guys to get over the top because personnel-wise they can. So what do you start doing? You start playing a little bit of soft, and you say, I'm a bend but don't break. As soon as you do that, these guys are just going to screen game you to death. And when they do that, they have options at the receiver position. They have options at the running back position. When you think about Giovanni Bernard, everybody knows that name. He's a one heck of a tailback. He is their 4th guy on the depth chart at running back. That lets you know how much talent they have in this backfield. They want to get the ball in these guys' hand and allow them to get some yards after the catch.
Yeah, you hit it right on there. I mean, when you talk about getting depth, when you're talking about the underneath defenders, linebackers, maybe some safeties here and there, when you're getting depth for these receivers because they have the ability to take the top off of the defense, and you want to make sure you layer that defense. Now that gives Tom Brady the excellence to be able to just dump it off to Leonard Fournette, to White, to some of these receivers out here and get this screen game going. And they are great with the yards after the catch. That's why it's going to be super important for this defense to be able to be great tacklers. If you have missed tackles out there, you might as well kiss the baby because Tom Brady's going to march the football all the way down the field.
Okay, so with that being said, who's got to step up out of that front 7 and be the best tackler? Because you're going to have guys like Micah Parsons out there, and we'll talk about Micah here in a moment, but outside of him, where do you go to get some of that production?
I got to go with Donovan Wilson on this one. I got to go with my safety mate there.
Wow, so not even a front 7.
Not even a front 7 guy. I'm talking about the back end. The way he comes down into the box and he can play sideline to sideline, he has that tone setter mentality out there. And he can weave through those blocking linemen out there and kind of shut down these screens. So to me, he's got to have a big game. He had a great game the first go around. He had a couple tackles, had a pick out there as well. If he can duplicate that, I think it gives his defense the best opportunity to be successful.
Now I'm about to go with you. We need a thumper, man.
Yeah. Wow.
We need a tone setter. We need a guy that's going to come up and take that opportunity to hit somebody in the middle of their chest and knock them back and jar somebody away from their ball. We need reaction and we need speed. And this guy, Wilson, he's talking about gives us that best chance.
Okay, I hear what you guys saying, and I respect it, but I'm going to raise you one. I'm going to go with Damone Clark. Okay. I think I need to see that tiger come out of Damone Clark, the LSU tiger.
Right.
You're talking about a guy who everybody is talking about on this defense. You talk about Micah Parsons talking about him. D-Law's talking about him. I need this guy to utilize his speed to be able to go sideline to sideline. If they want to run the screen game, he's the guy that has the speed to be able to run over there, and I need him to bring all 245 pounds of that and hit these guys in their mouth and make them get out of that game plan quick.
Okay, so since he's the only front seven guy we mentioned, let's talk about Micah Parsons and what he can bring. You guys are a producer's best friend. We plan to show the video of front seven guys. You're talking about the same
front seven.
You're the only one. You're the only one. Let's talk about Micah Parsons, though. He's going to be called upon plenty tonight. By the way, congratulations to Micah welcoming a baby girl to the family this week. So fantastic for him and the family. But how does he get back to game wrecking? Because that's the Micah Parsons we know and love.
He's going to have to go out there and he's going to have to fight through double teams. We all understand Micah Parsons is going to get all the attention, whether it's chipping from tight ends, chipping from running backs, he's going to get all the attention. But he's going to have to find a way to fight through that. And if he doesn't impact the game as far as sacking and stats numbers, at least make sure that offensive line come to you and you can create one-on-ones for the rest of your teammates out there. That's where I think he's going to be able to impact this game, not necessarily getting after the quarterback and putting up great sack numbers, but opening up everything else for the rest of that defense.
I just need him to be aware of one word: decisive. The teams that have given him problems are the teams that have him going two different directions, right? Whether it be the zone read type of offense or whether it be the screen game. He gets caught in between. He doesn't really know which way to go. I need him to make decisive plays out there. Come down here if you're going to come down here and go after TB12. If you're running out to the screen, run out to the screen. But no matter what decision that you make your presence felt. That's where I think he's been lacking over the second half of the season. He needs to get back to that.
Play with consistency. When I play offensive line, the guys like him scare me because they give you a change of speed. He got to be like a pitcher. He's got to have an off-speed pitch. Everything can't be go, go, go. You got to be smart. You got to stay in your lanes. And sometimes when you stay in your lanes, you help your other teammates. But when you decide to go, you have to be decisive, like Isaiah said. And that is the key to this. Pace yourself through this game, because if it come down to the wire, you want to be just as fresh as Tom so you can make that explosive play.
And he may only be in his second year, but overall, Micah Parsons feels like a veteran already in that locker room. He has one playoff game under his belt last year against San Francisco, and he talked earlier in the week about the focus completely changing from the regular season and then into the wild card round.
Yeah, I think my focus has been the same. It always has. It's just a matter of just executing, doing what you got to do, and just going with the game plan, really. So I think the focus has always been the same. Just focusing on this game. That's what matters, though.
Brady's hard to sack because of his release, 2.45 seconds, fastest in the NFL, but you got him twice in week one. How were you able to achieve that?
Getting to him faster. Our DBs did a great job of taking away his first look and made him pause in those couple seconds, and I was able to get there. It's just going to be just as important this week, if not more important, because how good he's been in playoffs. So the pressure, getting to him is going to be crucial, vital for us to win this game.
Mike, you've only been here 2 years. Does a 26-year Super Bowl drought mean anything to you?
No, I'm a year in. I just can control what I can control. I can't control past what guys did in the past or what they did before. I can control what I do and what the guys in this room do. That's just all that matters to me.
Is that kind of your approach? I appreciate the history and what happened here before, but it doesn't impact what we have facing us Monday night, so why talk about it?
Why talk about it? It has no relevance. It's a whole different team, whole different roster. The only person I might know is Jason Peters. He's the only person I might know. Outside Jason Peters, this is a pretty young group, and we've all been in here. We're in here together, so we're good where we're at.
Back here for Cowboys pregame live here from the Tostitos Championship Plaza. We decided to get out here with the fans a little bit that are back behind us. We've got a great crowd on hand. Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us as we head into the wild card matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Nate, 57 players have appeared in a playoff game on the Cowboys side of things. So 57 combined appearances, not players, combined appearances.
Whoa, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yes.
Tom Brady has 47 by himself.
Yeah, he's the GOAT,
though. There's a little bit of an experience gap in between, and only 17 of those players have actually had a playoff win. How much does that matter for a team heading into a wild card round?
It's big because what I believe is every play counts a little bit more. The speed of the game picks up. Your preparation or lack of preparation shows up as the game goes on and on. And when you get into that fourth quarter, when everything is getting tight and you're up by 3 or down by 7, and you need to pull this thing even, that's when the pressure get on. And that tells when a young player, even if you're very athletic and you're the better athlete, a lot of times you'll do some silly things. We've seen some past games this past weekend that where people just made silly moves because they were inexperienced and not understanding how big the situation is.
How much do you think they learned from last year's loss to San Francisco and not having a win in that moment at your stadium as the higher seed? Do you feel like they've learned from that and can take that into this year?
Oh, I think they have. I mean, they don't want that feeling again. And Coach Johnson always said, hold on to that bad feeling. It'll make you prepare better. It'll make you more intense, but it'll also calm you down. And that's what I'm going to keep saying. You're going to have to calm down, and you're going to have to play fast and take advantage of it. We coming with the boom box this year, but it's going to be a physical boom box.
Oh, it better be. You got to bring the energy. Now, you are going to be on the road.
Yes.
You've got plenty of Cowboys Nation supporting you. There's plenty of support here from back home. So that's exciting to know about if you are the Cowboys out there getting ready. But you also got to avoid those mistakes. You can't have early mistakes. Some of those mistakes have come from Dak Prescott as of late, 15 interceptions this year. A lot of those have been on coverage and reading and diagnosing coverages in different ways. So we have our very own Isaiah Stanback and Barry Church to tell us how Dak can have some more success diagnosing those coverages as they hit the field earlier today.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Isaiah Stanback out here at Tostitos Plaza with my very own Mr. Barry Church. Now, I'm going to be playing Mr. Dak Prescott, representing the offense, and Mr. Kellen Moore. Barry is going to be representing the defense, and Mr. Todd Bowles. We're going to give you guys a preview as to what they're going to try to do defensively to throw off Dak Prescott in this offense.
Well, defensively, what Todd Bowles is going to do out there, he's not going to be able to give Dak Prescott the study guide before the test. We all understand that Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. So you can't just line up and show exactly what you're going to do to him, because he has an opportunity to pick your defense apart. And this is where Todd Bowles and his genius, defensive genius, it kind of comes alive, because he loves to disguise his coverages out there, making the quarterback think a little bit longer post-snap in order to get that defensive line an extra tick, an extra second to get back to Mr. Prescott. So what we got going on right here is we have a cover 3 look. Now, I don't know what's going to happen post-snap. We might get some movement here and there, but it's going to be disguised. Right now we have our safety down. You would think it would be a cover 3 look where he's going to buzz out into the flats, and you got your corners on the outside going into the deep third, safety in the middle of the field going into the deep middle. But this is exactly what Todd Bowles wants Dak Prescott to think. He wants him to think that it's simply a cover 3 zone and he'll be able to pick it apart. That is not the case. There's a lot of moving parts that go along with Todd Bowles' defense. Let's see if we can confuse Mr. Dak Prescott.
All right, as you guys just heard, Barry just told you guys this single high look looks like cover 3. The weakness of cover 3 is going to be in the seams. So right off the bat, Dak is going to look at this and say, I can go to Dalton Schultz up the seam. I can go to T.Y. Hilton up the seam. I can go to C.D. Lamb right here as well. No. You need to be able to make a determination between your pre-snap read and your post-snap read, and we're going to see exactly what happens at the snap of the ball. Here we go. Ready, set, and boom. Right off the back, okay? You guys see it right now. Everything just changed. We just went from a single high to now what you call, Barry?
An invert cover 2. All right, what the invert cover 2 is, usually in your regular cover 2, your Tampa 2, you have your 2 corners sitting in the flat, making sure everything's in front of them, taking care of those flat route by the running backs. Then you have your 2 safeties spreading out high, making sure they keep everything in front of them. But what the invert 2 is, you get that cover 3 look, confusing the quarterback pre-snap, and your safety becomes that cover 2 flat defender. Your cover corner that was the flat defender previously, he's going to the deep third to make sure he takes care of everything. I'm sorry, the deep half to make sure he takes everything and keeps everything in front of him, that middle of the field safety, he's going to that half as well, doing the same responsibility, making sure everything's held up in front of him. And that corner over there, he's going to stay in his flat. So it's making that quarterback think a little bit, oh man, I thought the safety was right here. He's going to be buzzing. No, he has the flat. It's going to force him to wait just a little bit longer in order for that defensive line to get there. Hopefully Dak Prescott can decipher it fast and make a great decision.
Now, in terms of seeing it with this invert 2, this is exactly what happened to Dak a couple weeks ago. This outside linebacker actually dropped back into his coverage right here, right into this hook drop, when Dak said what? Thought it was single high. The seams are where the weakness of cover 3 is. Aha, not anymore. That's now invert 2. He threw an interception trying to force the ball to Dalton Schultz. He has to be able to find the holes in the coverage to be able to decipher exactly what's going on. That's a great job of presenting a nice little invert 2. We always have an answer for it. That's what it was.
All right, defense, huddle up, defense, huddle up. Let's bring it in. All right, y'all, let's get back to confusing this man in the back end. This time we're going to do cover 2, rolling down to cover 3. All right, 1, 2, 3, right.
All right, so right now you guys see that the defense is starting to break out from their huddle. From that point forward, as Dak's walking up to the line of scrimmage, he starts diagnosing exactly what they're trying to present. Right off the back, I see 2 high safeties. Right now, not really sure if this cover 2 or cover 4 at this point, but that's what I'm determining between 2 potential coverages. Now, Barry is going to try to mess him up again, just like he did on the last one. All right, we're going to see exactly what they're going to from the snap.
Well, as you see right now, we're in a 2-high shell. We're trying to invite that run, trying to take the ball out of Dak Prescott's hands, because usually as a quarterback, correct me if I'm wrong, Isaiah, but if you see that 2-high shell, that's inviting the run right up the middle. But see, this is where Todd Bowles can get a little bit tricky when it comes to his defense. You can show that 2-high shell out there, but at the snap of the ball, he may rotate one of those safeties down to make it a 8-man box. And that is not very, very good when you talk about running the ball against an 8-man box, especially one with great linebackers like Tampa Bay. So we're going to stay out here in a 2-high shell. We'll see if Mr. Prescott, a.k.a. IRS, can decipher what we do post-snap.
All right, here we go. So you guys just heard a 2-high shell right there, going from the snap. Boom, and at the snap of the ball, all of a sudden things change. It's no longer cover 2. It's no longer cover 4. Now all of a sudden, the cornerbacks have gotten depth, okay? It's letting me know right now, confirmation, it's not man coverage, okay? It's letting me know that these guys are now in cover 3. That left corner has a third. That deep safety has a third. And now this right side corner has a third. What do I not want to do versus this? I don't want to run the ball because there's too many people in the box. You just heard him say 8-man front. What else do I not want to do? I don't want to throw the ball underneath because there's 5 covered defenders underneath, okay? So now right off the back, I want to try to find those seams. And right where Barry's at right there, that's where it's at. Dalton Schultz, got to win. CeeDee Lamb on the inside, got to win. That's how you attack the weakness and get these guys out of this 8-man box.
Yeah, exactly what IRS just said there, a.k.a. Dak Prescott. The weakness of this defense, cover 3, is the seams. This is where Peyton Hendershot, this is where Schultz, this is where those tight ends can come alive, threatening the seams up there. And if we get our run game together, if we got Tony Pollard working, if we got Ezekiel Elliott working, they can use that play action. Dak is one of the best play action quarterbacks in the National Football League. If he's able to use that play action, suck those linebackers up, and then that's when you see these seams come alive with the tight ends, maybe even a CeeDee Lamb over the middle. Let's hope to see it come Monday night.
There it is, you guys. You guys just got a behind-the-scenes look as to what they're going to try to do to us defensively and how Dak and this offense can make some things happen.
How about that, Isaiah Stanback and Barry Church taking the field here at the Tostitos Championship Plaza before the fans got their chance to make it out here as well. There's some Stanback family in there, little Yeoman's family as well, as we're having some fun out here at the Star in Frisco. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Let's go back out to the Miller Lighthouse at AT&T Stadium and check in with Bill Jones, who's there for the official Cowboys watch party. Bill, fans starting to file in. What's the crowd feeling like heading into kickoff? Looks like we may not have Bill, so we're going to try that again at some point down the line. But fans out there, fans here, either way, everybody's ready for this Monday Night Football matchup to get started. And so far for this Cowboys team, at least you going back to even last year, it's been a shuffling of the cards at that offensive line spot. Let's talk about the front 5. Here's how it started in 2021. You've got a completely different group from 2021 with Tyron Smith, Connor Williams, Lyle Collins, all of which who were not available for the Cowboys to start the 2022 season. season. Instead, it was Tyler Smith, the rookie out of Tulsa, Connor McGovern filling in for Connor Williams full-time, and then Terrence Steele at the right tackle spot taking over. But then you fast forward to the final week of the regular season, even more cards come into play. Tyron Smith switches from left tackle to right tackle to make things work. Connor McGovern and Tyler Smith have to move over one position, and then Jason Peters is at the left tackle spot. Things have been crazy up front for the Cowboys offensive line this season. However, you might get you're expected to get Tyler Biadasz back at center tonight, so hopefully both McGovern and Smith can move back into their most comfortable positions. But they're going to be faced up with big Vita Vea, one of the best nose tackles in the National Football League. You look at his season stats, 7 tackles for loss, 31 tackles, and a lot of it doesn't even take up what you see on the stat sheet, take up the box score. It's what you see on the film. And Isaiah, you're a UW guy, Washington Huskies for life. What does he bring to the table? How will he challenge this offensive front?
This is a Willie Mammoth. And one thing we know about Willie Mammoth is they don't come around too doggone often. This dude is an actual physical specimen. He creates a problem. I don't care if you're an all-pro. I don't care if you're an all-Madden. I don't care if you're about to be a Pro Bowler. It doesn't matter. This dude is going to bull rush you all day long. Not only does he have the size at 350 pounds, he also has the quickness, and they use his 3-man front. He's going to play at the nose tackle, and they'll put him at the defensive end position. So sometimes you'll see him over Biadasz. Sometimes you'll see him over Martin. And then next thing you know, you'll see him out there on Tyler Smith, creating havoc all over the place. Nate Dogg, what kind of problems does he cause offensive linemen?
He's a body snatcher. And what I mean by that right there is he absorbs a lot of blocks. If you're at the center position, you're going to need a guard to block down on him. If you're at the tackle position, you're going to need a guard to help you. He eats up 2 or more bodies each time, and that gives those linebackers, the Devon Whites and these guys, opportunity to shoot gaps, come downhill, or don't have to run a hump. And when you have that type of player in the middle of your field, he is awesome.
You're exactly right. He's going to be a challenge for that offensive line. I believe we have Bill Jones back on the line out at the Miller Lighthouse at AT&T Stadium. So let's try this again, Bill. The crowd's starting to fill in. What's the feeling like out there in Arlington?
Well, behind me, you can see the field behind me has been cleared now. There were fans all across the field. They have cleared the field because the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders are about to perform here in just a matter of a moment. One thing I heard what Nate was talking about, Vita Vea, and you know what? The Cowboys need to hope Vita Vea isn't the same problem that Dexter Lawrence was for the Minnesota Vikings offensive line yesterday, because he just destroyed that Minnesota offense. But he's the same type player, as you all know, that Dexter Lawrence is, so the Cowboys going to have their hands full with Vita Vea tonight.
No doubt about that. Now, we asked you for your matchup to watch earlier. Now I'm going to ask you for your prediction. Who do you think comes out on top on Monday Night Football field? Do the Cowboys get the job done, or is it the Buccaneers moving on?
Well, and about those matchup to watch, since the time we talked an hour ago, as you know, Deshaun Wright is now inactive, so I'm really looking at Xavier Rhodes now, and also with the news of Jason Peters starting at left tackle. So I'm looking for Connor McGovern at fullback a lot tonight, too. But anyway, as far as my prediction, I'm going to stick with my prediction from earlier in the week on mixed shots. As Nate knows, on the days I make my prediction, I put gas in my tank, and it was a slow-moving tank or gas pump this week, so I stopped it at $35, and it showed the Cowboys winning over Brady and the Bucs 35-30. That is my prediction. Cowboys win and move on to San Francisco next week.
Well, there you go. As Rowdy takes the field behind you, Bill Jones getting the crowd excited here at the Tostitos Championship Plaza with a Cowboys win. Bill, thanks so much for taking some time. We'll talk to you again down the road. You can catch Bill on Mix Shots every single week here on DallasCowboys.com. He then also talked about it there. Jason Peters will still be at left tackle, so the cards that we just shuffled a moment ago will continue to shuffle as well. Real quick, Nate, what's your reaction to hearing the Jason Peters news?
Akeem Hicks. Now he comes into play. He's a big guy. He's 6'5", 6'6", 340 pounds, and he can bring it downhill. So it's going to be a veteran on veteran, and they're going to have to play. They're going to have to do a super job. I'm about to trust that he has enough tricks in his bag, Jason Peters, to come through this game, because we need to keep Dak clean. Dak has to stay clean.
Got to have him upright to throw the ball and to really avoid some of those mistakes we talked about earlier. You also got to be able to run the football. Jason Peters has been good in terms of the ground game and run blocking. Here's what the Cowboys have done, though, over the last few weeks. Weeks 1 through 15, one of the most electrifying 1-2 punches you'll see in the National Football League. On the other side, these last 3 weeks, about cut in half the production as a whole, and Jason Peters has been out there for a lot of that. Isaiah, how do they get back to what they were doing earlier in the season?
Bully ball. And that's really the only explanation that I can even come up with to understand why Jason Peters would be in there. They need to do bully ball. So Jason Peters over there at the left tackle, having Tyler Smith at left guard position, and coming downhill. I'm not too worried about Jason Peters' ability to have a rushing attack because he is big on big. He'll power drive somebody in the ground. It's usually the quick guys that get around him, and that's what's caused some issues. So maybe this is the game plan that they have going forward.
What you do if you had a chance to scout yourself. The whole organization came together and scouted this one game. Take your 5 best run plays and run multiple options off that or multiple looks off of that, but make sure these run plays that have been successful against good defenses to great defenses, you make sure you execute these plays.
So with that being said, which one of the running backs needs to see the majority of the touches to set the tone? Is it going to be Tony Pollard, Barry, or is it Ezekiel Elliott that gets it started?
Well, both of these running backs are important for the success of this offense. But overall, I'm going with Tony Pollard. I feel like his speed and his home run ability will be able to affect Tampa Bay more than that bruising, downhill, physical, 3 yards in a cloud of dust style that Ezekiel Elliott has. So to me, the name of the game is to get the ball into the end zone. All right, and if you can do that, you can win games. And I believe Tony Pollard gives you the best opportunity to get the ball in the end zone and get these W's. So I'm giving a little bit more attention to Tony Pollard this game.
I like the fact that Tony Pollard has that change of pace and that he's a lightning in a bolt. But the thing is, with this front, 3-4, okay? It's pretty much a 5-2. Once you get past that first level, you're dealing with smaller, faster linebackers. So I like the matchup there of Zeke versus those smaller linebackers and being able to ground and pound those guys and then, like you say, tenderize them and then hand it off to Tony Pollard.
What I think you have to do is you have to be a little creative in your run game. Don't just slam up in there, Vita. That's not smart. Don't just try to run over this guy. It's not going to happen. Hey, run a few quick traps. Let Ferguson, let the other tight end, and not Dalton Schultz. I know he's not going to be good at that. But let Ferguson slam up in there and hit Vita Vea in the side of his head and make things happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, both Pollard and Zeke have a chip on their shoulder. So does CeeDee Lamb, though, who had just 1 reception and 5 yards against San Francisco last year. Isaiah, do you think Kellen Moore will attempt to get him the ball in space early?
You absolutely have to. And you have to get back to what you're doing there in the first half of the season in terms of getting him going on crossing routes. Doesn't matter if it's man, doesn't matter if it's zone. Those crossing routes kill every defense.
Yeah, he's going to have a better game than he had last year because we understand that wide receivers not named T.Y. Hilton or CeeDee Lamb struggle to consistently beat man-to-man coverage out there. And if CeeDee Lamb's having one of those off games or a bad game, then that Cowboys passing attack, it becomes non-existent. So he has to step up, especially with a do-or-die time.
One of the true things is to see a player grow from the first week and now coming into this playoff game. This kid has grown. He's turned into, in some cases, a top 6 receiver. Receptions, yardage after catch. This guy's a beast. He have grown into that number 1 receiver slot.
Who has to step up from another receiver role? Because you have CeeDee Lamb, great. But what about Michael Gallup, T.Y. Hilton, Dalton Schultz, Peyton Hendershot, Jake Ferguson? Who's that next guy up for this Cowboys offense?
I think Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz, he's the guy that has to be there, consistent man, that has to work his way down the field and moving these chains. He's been that guy for Dak over the recent years. He's the reason why he had the franchise tag. We need to see a resurgence of him tonight.
And if it's not Dalton Schultz, it's got to be T.Y. Hilton. We've seen this guy convert third downs when he gets the opportunity. He's great with the ball in his hands. Sometimes Dak needs that guy that he can dump it down to, and he can make explosive things happen. T.Y. Hilton can be that second security blanket to Dak Prescott. He needs to have a big game today.
And the third guy we know is Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard got to touch this ball at least 25 times this game. We need explosive plays. We need to change the field whenever we can.
It's a little surprising to hear you guys say all those names but not mention Michael Gallup, though, because he's got to step up as well. That is a huge key for this Cowboys team. As we take a look outside AT&T Stadium, Miller Lite Plaza out there in Arlington, everybody getting ready. And here is the Tostitos Championship Plaza. Oh, we've got an invader. Are those twins? Are we got a house divided here?
Yeah, Tom Brady finally looking old,
huh? Oh, man. There's only a gate that's separating us, Nate. Let's not get too carried away.
I love it.
All right, let's go back out to Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, where our very own Nick Eatman now catches up with Cowboys COO Stephen Jones.
Thank you, Kyle. And as always, we're joined by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. And all year long, let's see what happens in the playoffs. You have to get through the regular season, obviously, to get here. And it's here, and it's called Super Wild Card Weekend. I think that's new that they're calling it super. Pretty super to be right here in this spot, though, with this game about to take off here.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what you play for. You play your butt off all year to get in these playoffs, and certainly we've had a great year. But the most important part of it's right here in front of us now, and of course to be right here in Tampa and playing arguably the GOAT, the greatest of all time. We've got our hands full tonight, and but we've had a great week of practice. All three phases of the game. Really, the guys are dialed in. They know what's at stake here, and I just fully expect us to come out and play at a very high level. Of course, that's what it takes to win these playoff games. We've watched them all weekend, and every one of them, big favorites, small favorites, it all comes right down to the wire, and we know this is going to be a competitive football game, and but I think we're up for it.
No lead is safe is one thing that we've seen here, especially here in Florida with the game in Jacksonville just the other day. Tom Brady, like you said, he's the GOAT. He's had some games. He's got the ball in the fourth quarter. What's it going to take for you guys to finally get over the hump there and beat him?
I think we just got to go out and execute. We got to play fast. We got to play confident. If we do that, I think good things will happen. I mean, we've done it all year when our defenses played fast and confident. We create turnovers. Obviously, offensively, we got to execute. We've got to protect the football. We all talked about that ad nauseum in terms of protecting the ball. And then on special teams, unlike we did the last game, we got to go out and execute on special teams. Hopefully make some big plays to help us in this football game. So no bones will have that group ready. And but at the end of the day, it's all about execution. It's all about playing fast and playing with confidence.
Your team has bounced back all year long. Every time there's been any kind of setback, any loss on the field, you come back and won at least 2 games. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's what happens in the middle of the week, Mike McCarthy getting these guys ready to go and bounce back from the sour taste in their mouth?
I just think this is a resilient group of men. Starts at the top with guys like Jack and Zach, guys like D-Law and Leighton Vander Esch, guys like Javon Curse and Dono Wilson. I think those guys know, when they have a little letdown, they got to pick it back up. And that's what I felt like this week, being out of practice, feeling the energy, feeling the confidence and what we're capable of doing. I just feel like we'll respond again just like we have in the past.
A lot of times, right down the center of the lines is where the stuff happens here. And on offense, you've got the center coming back, Tyler Biadasz. Other side, you've got Hankins and then Leighton Vander Esch. Of those 3, and you can say all 3 if you want, but of those 3, who are you most excited about coming back?
All 3.
Go ahead, do it.
It's just all 3 because, they're leaders on this team. Certainly, Big Hankins in there.
Yeah.
Really whole anchoring in there against the run. Certainly, Leighton's been not only a great football player for us this year against the run, but he's also been a leader. And then, of course, Biadasz there on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah. He's the quarterback of that offensive line, gets everything started there. Be great to have him back, get the continuity rolling again, and I feel good about our group.
All right, so next week, can we do it again in San Francisco? We got to get this one done.
Let's get this one.
All right, let's get this one. You can go that far? Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. We got to get this done, and then we'll do it again. This won't be the last one. All right, Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Throw it back to Kyle and the crew.
Thank you very much, Nick, as we welcome you back out to the Tostitos Championship Plaza for one final time prior to kickoff between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's time now for our keys to the game. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans, wrapping things up. What's your key to the Cowboys moving on, defeating Tampa Tom, and moving into that divisional round?
It's pretty simple to me. Offensively, take care of the football. And defensively, make sure you get pressure on Tom Brady or he will make you pay. Let's get it done, Cowboys.
I got one thing for you. Don't turn the ball over. That's all I need from Dak. Don't turn the ball over. We don't need any interceptions or fumbles.
I need continuity on the offensive line. Offensive line, you are the reason they will win this game. The way you play and keep your quarterback clean. Sacks will happen, but keep your quarterback clean so he can make decisive decisions.
Okay, here's my key to the game. Play off of the energy that we've seen from Cowboys Nation across the country. It doesn't matter where you're watching this game. They know, they feel the energy. They feel the anticipation anticipation for Monday Night Football. Here's what it looks like out at AT&T Stadium in Arlington as we get ready for kickoff. Cowboys Nation is ready to roll. This is the Tostitos Championship Plaza. This section of Cowboys Nation is ready to roll. And then you go back out to Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, where the Cowboys themselves are ready to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to do it for us on Cowboys Pregame Live. Kickoff coming up on ESPN at 7:15. For Barry, Isaiah, Nate, and our entire DallasCowboys.com crew, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Star in Frisco. It's time for playoff football in Tampa. Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's get ready to rumble.